Let's start at the top. Nancy Guthrie case. This just came in 2 hours ago. Second note sent to media outlets said she had died. The second note sent to media outlets following the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie indicated that she had died but contained no apology or request for payment for the release of her body. 3 people familiar with the matter told NBC News, which is Savannah's network. The existence of the note was known, but the content specifically that it said Guthrie had died had not been previously disclosed. Why are we just now finding out that Nancy Guthrie, that they told the family she was deceased? When did the second note come in? Hold on. I need to get these. I need to get these dates. What date did they get that? God, it's all this new stuff. February wait, hold on. The first note was on Monday, which was the second. The second note, do you guys know when the second note came through? I mean, we found out about it later. Hold on. Google Docs. Let me pull up my handy dandy timeline. Well, the first one came in on Monday, right? The day after. They're saying no apology. So let me see if I can get my... Damn, I don't see it. What account was that made under, Kels? Because I know we shared it with one another. All that work and I can't find it. Is Kels still here? Hey, Robat. I'm trying to find the damn Nancy Guthrie timeline, but I can't find it. 2 deadlines, one for 6 million. I can probably Google it. Hold on. What date did Nancy Guthrie ransom notes come in? The second note was February the 6th. Yep. Wait a second. This was already reported. Right? Oh, no. I thought they did apologize. Yeah, what the fuck, dude? Look. There's something going on here. Look. A second note was then sent February 6th, which shockingly apologized for her death and demanded a fee to return her body. Hang on. So what? Why are they switching it? They're switching it now to say that they didn't ask for payment and they didn't apologize. But here it's saying they apologized. And why won't this load? What's going on? We know that it said she died. The Guthrie family received 2 notes that were sent to Tucson media, and those are the 2 that they said were credible. The first note demanded cryptocurrency for Nancy's return. The second note said she died shortly after she was taken and was buried in nature? What? Who the fuck said that? Dude, I never heard that. Okay, so after the second note, Savannah posted a statement in a February 7th Instagram post. We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us. This is very valuable to us and we will pay. Okay, he's live right now? Okay, I guess we're going to have to watch that. Because that's pretty wild. Buried in nature. Okay, let's go to another one. That's Yahoo News. Here's News Nation 7 minutes ago. A ransom note reportedly apologized for killing her. Something media outlet TMZ, one of the organizations that received the note, disputes. A report from Airmail stated the email sent in February from the same IP as an earlier note included details of the night Guthrie disappeared. This is coming from Airmail. It included an apology for accidentally killing the 84-year-old. ABC News also reported an email sent to a local Tucson station, which was reported to be the same as the one sent to TMZ, contained an apology for Guthrie's death. TMZ, one of the media outlets that received both, has disputed the account, saying there was no such apology. Oh my God. Who are we to believe? Many of the ransom notes in the Guthrie case were fake, according to authorities, but the Guthrie family did respond to the 2 notes they believed were legitimate. According to the Airmail report, the February 6th note included an apology for Guthrie's accidental death and the suggestion her body could be returned for a ransom, which TMZ denies was said. 2 ransom deadlines passed in the case with no exchange, and Guthrie remains missing months later. In the post denying any mention of Guthrie's death in a ransom note, TMZ brought up a separate series of emails. The outlet noted that those emails were from someone who claimed to have information on the case, but who was not the kidnapper. One of those notes included the phrase, "Time is no longer of the essence." Oh my goodness. TMZ said it reached out to the FBI regarding those emails, which it believes are legitimate. The company said it was hoping to do a documentary and asked the FBI how the agency would feel if TMZ paid the Bitcoin ransom to see where it led. The FBI said the email was interesting, according to TMZ, but did not follow up on the ransom requests. So TMZ was automatically thinking of a documentary to pay the ransom and be able to document everything. Wow. Thank you, Robat, for 43 months. The day before Derek's court hearing. Interesting. Actually, his court hearing was moved. He's now taking a deal. He will be pleading with the feds. TMZ released a short. Okay, let's watch that really quick. Because right here it says, the note contained no apology or a request for payment. 3 people familiar with the matter told NBC, which is her freaking network. This is so weird. This is so strange. All right, let's go to YouTube and go to TMZ. It's on YouTube, right? the short. I mean, we're totally getting conflicting information. TMZ saying, no, that's not what it said. Is it this? Hold on. What the
FBI
told me.
I want to talk about Nancy Guthrie and some communications I've had with the FBI that I haven't talked about until now. But I want to start with these reports that this ransom letter that we received kind of apologizes to Savannah Guthrie and her family for the kidnapping, and that Nancy was no longer alive. That was not in the ransom note that we.
So he's saying no. Oh my gosh, what is going on?
Received. It is not in that ransom note at all. It does say that she's scared, but okay. But the ransom note makes no reference to Nancy Guthrie either dying or the kidnappers apologizing. Now, there is a reference to Nancy Guthrie not being alive anymore, but that is from the person who sent us multiple emails saying that he knows or knew where Nancy Guthrie was and where the kidnappers were, and he wanted money in return for information. We passed that along to the FBI as we did the ransom note, but this person kept sending us emails. And early on, he said, time is of the essence. And then a few days after the kidnapping, he said, time is no longer of the essence.
Now, I think that's the only thing we heard, was that time was no longer of the essence. And we all were like, okay, maybe they're saying, she's deceased. Cash, thank you for becoming a true seeker today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your support.
But did they say she was dead? Or did they just say time is no longer of the essence?
Meaning she wasn't alive. So that's where that came from. Not the people who kidnapped her, but from the person who was sending us these notes. Now, that person.
So we have 2 ransom notes that the Guthries said were legit. But he's saying the death part came from random emails.
Wanted effectively $100,000. He actually reduced it at some point, but that's what he wanted in return for giving information about the whereabouts of Nancy Guthrie or her remains and the kidnapper. This person also said that he was afraid that he might be implicated. He had a burglary on his record from, I think he said, 11 years before. And apparently he knew these kidnappers well enough that he was afraid he might be implicated. He also said he wanted to go underground, which is why he needed the money, because he was afraid that they would exact revenge on him for blowing the whistle on the kidnappers.
So again, Nick Stan, Harvey is saying the notes that are thought not to be genuine are the ones who said she was no longer here. NBC is saying it was the second note. NBC is saying the second ransom note, which why would it be a ransom note? Wait a minute. Why are they even saying that this is a ransom note if there was no request for payment? Why is the Guthrie family saying there's 2 legit ransom notes? A note saying she died and not asking for payment isn't a ransom. You see what I'm saying? There'd only be 1 ransom note. But they're saying there were 2 that were legit. This isn't a ransom note. Saying she died and there's no apology or request for payment. How is that a ransom note? That would just be communication, right? Not a ransom. They still wanted payment, but NBC is saying there was no request for payment. You see what I'm saying? Savannah's network is saying there was no request for payment. Exactly. It's a death notice. This is a cluster if I've ever seen one.
So the FBI never paid that money, or never got the Guthrie family to pay the money to the person who was sending us these letters, these emails.
So the guy only wanted $100,000 to tell the location of her body, but they won't take the 1.2 million and say where her body is?
I will tell you that the FBI did put around $270 in the Bitcoin account of the kidnappers. And we knew that. We were asked not to talk about that while all of this was going on. But they wanted to see if they could trace that person. They couldn't. As for this other person, the FBI took it seriously. They felt, at least in my communications with them, and I had numerous communications, they felt that this person might indeed know. For some reason, they never paid or never asked the Guthrie family to pay that person for information leading to the identity of the kidnappers and Nancy Guthrie's remains. I was always confused about that because I'm a skeptical guy, but there's something about those emails that made me believe that this guy may well have known who the kidnappers were. And the reason I say that is that initially he said, in the first letter, he said, time is of the essence, meaning you better hurry up, I can tell you where she is. But then the next day he wrote, time is no longer of the essence. If somebody is scamming and wants to get money, why would they say time is no longer of the essence? You want to say, no, time is still of the essence, so you can get the money and make people feel that it's urgent to pay it. For him to say it's no longer of the essence, to me it felt more truthful because he was taking away the urgency to pay the money. So I always had this gnawing sense that he might be indeed legit. But for some reason, the FBI never pulled the trigger to pay the money. So around 3 weeks ago, I called the FBI back. I hadn't heard from them in a while. And I said, look, it's been gnawing at me for a long time that there's something about this guy that felt legit. And I said, look, what if TMZ does a documentary and that we try and get in touch with this guy and even pay the money? And if he takes us to the location, then you get resolution. The Guthrie family gets resolution. And if he scams us, he scams us. But I just had this real feeling that it might be real. But we didn't want to interfere with the investigation. So the contact I had at the FBI said, look, that's interesting. Let us get back to you. And I talked to him a few days later, and he said, well, it's something they're looking into. And I thought, okay, fine. And then a week passed, and I called back and left a message. And usually my messages were responsive, where they would call back. And I got nothing back. And I've called a half a dozen times since over the last couple of weeks. And I've gotten nothing back. For some reason, the FBI has gone radio silent on me. And we have had ongoing discussions because we've tried to be helpful over the many months now that this has been going on. But they've ghosted me. And I don't know what that's about. But I've kind of not talked about it. But at some point...
Do you guys think that they could have ghosted him because he talked about wanting to make a documentary out of it? Maybe that's why they're not talking to him?
I just want to put it out there that, this felt like maybe we could do some good. And for some reason, the FBI has gone radio silent. I don't understand it. I'm not suggesting that the FBI is doing anything wrong because they've really tried to solve this. But it's just curious to me that this one guy who has sent us, I think, around a dozen emails, it's just somebody that I felt knew something. But for whatever reason, this has all kind of evaporated into thin air.
It's evaporated into thin air, but we have Derek Kalila, who was arrested pretty much right after he did it. Look at this article. This one, okay, we're going to read this. Ransom notes, this is from In Style, okay? Ransom notes in Nancy Guthrie case may have led to early investigative misstep. The gist, investigators in the ongoing Nancy case may have made a critical misstep. Rather than sending the alleged kidnappers the money they demanded, officials decided to tickle the wire and send a much lower amount, which was $270, according to Harvey. They later received an apology for her alleged death. Airmail published a piece that dove into the ransom notes that were received following Nancy's disappearance. In the first note, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Guthrie was described as being safe but scared. The message went on to demand $4 million be paid by Bitcoin by February the 5th. If they received that sum by the 9th, remember they took it to Monday, she would be returned. If not, the new fee would be $6 million. The note added that these terms were non-negotiable and concluded with the message or else. However, the task force decided to tickle the wire, according to the outlet, and only sent the alleged kidnappers, this one says 152, and the money remained untouched. Airmail noted that either the amount of the money simply wasn't enough or that the kidnappers correctly suspected it was a trap. Come on, $152 is not going to tickle anyone out of the fucking woodwork. Then on February 6th, another note was sent, which led the task force to believe that Nancy's case wasn't just a kidnapping, it was also a potential homicide. Sources close to the case summarized the letter to Airmail. It reportedly began with an apology for Nancy's alleged death. The message said that her body could be delivered for a fee, but it was unclear whether they wanted the original $4 million or a different amount. The next day, on February 7th, Savannah posted on Instagram alongside her siblings. We'll watch that now.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Okay, so that was in response to that on the 7th. But then we have over here NBC stating Nancy Guthrie case. Second note sent to media outlets said she had died. The note contained no apology or request for payment for the release of her body. And this is being reported by NBC News. So make of it what you will. It's very confusing to me still. The buried in nature came from Yahoo. I don't know where that one came from either. Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. It's crazy, right? Here's ABC. Let's see what they say. Right here, again, ABC News. The first note demanded cryptocurrency. The second note, according to sources, said she had died shortly after and was taken and buried in nature. That's from ABC News.